Shiganari, is that'll be the first ban. The Azir has been a consistent ban from Heretics as well, but that illusion we talked about removed off of the table.
Exactly. Red side, they just don't want to deal with it. It's had 100% win rate so far this series. It feels like Lucian Nami is a little bit too oppressive. If it's not in the lane, it's the mid-game team fights. And I mean, honestly, you hear Orcs talk... Rest in peace, brother Orcs. He's not dead, he's just not here. You hear Orcs talk about it a lot. It's not actually the laning phase. It's usually the mandate Gale Force spike or the rapid fire cannon Gale Force with that mandate spike that comes in. We've seen how much range either Shiganari or Jack Spectre have been able to effectively close between them and their target to just assassinate them off the rift. And not here anymore for Game 5 finally. His presence still technically 100%, just not 100% on the rift.
Yeah.
Vi, gone. Trundle, gone. Makes a lot of sense. We've been seeing that consistently remove the way since about Game 2.
Yeah, we'll see if it's going to be the 4 jungle bans again, like we saw in game number 4. Apparently not. Aphelios taken away, despite the fact that that was really one of the picks that Jack Spectre has been leaning on, and certainly in this series we saw him play up. Shiganari's had a fair bit of presence on it across the course of the split as well. Poppy, a jungler that at the very start of this series was present and will be banned once again by the Unicorns.
Draven, yeah, Draven.
Okay.
All right, Draven Game 5. I mean, it's the Gauntlet Throwdown, isn't it? And I mean, it's a bit of a Jack Spectre special. He loves this champion too.
Yeah.
Heretics saying, all right, we are going to go the whole, you know what we did with Kalista? We're going to do it again, but we're going to do it with Draven, and this time we're going to stick it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Look, it's game number 5. This is where you have to throw down and prove who you are. Ruby gonna do the same. We get a signature champion for Jack Spectre in the Draven. We get a signature champion for Ruby on that Azir. This is a pick he has been playing for over 5 years professionally at this point, and it is absolutely beautiful to witness.
And now what AD do we get? Because of the Draven there, Kalista kind of like falls off as an option. You have a couple of the other sort of fringe AD still available if you want to go towards them. Zeri maybe if you want to try and survive the lane and scale up. For now, they're not going to go towards either. I was thinking maybe the Sejuani, but with the Wukong getting locked in, this now means on the side of Heretics, you might want to take this one away, because if you have to deal with Sejuani Wukong on the top side, that's a very solid 2v2 with engaged team fighting options. You already have a lot of peel coming from the Azir and scaling. All of a sudden, this Draven pick is going to have a lot to have to deal with in these team fights. At the very least, though, Heretics toying with the idea of picking up the Victor into Ruby on his Azir, and they will do just that, and they still need to go for their jungler, probably in this rotation.
I would say the Akali can be very good against an Azir. Could be a Victor top. I'll just throw it out there just in case. But yeah, jungler could very well be the call here to try and match that Wukong and have some kind of presence in the end of the game. Because if you don't pick a jump on now,
I feel like you have to take the Sedge, even though you might not necessarily want it. I think you have to just deny away the combination from the top side. I think it's been too high priority this series. I think it just makes too much sense as well. Now R3, I guess it has to be AD. The question is, what options does Shiganari really have into this? No, take it back. They want the full top side. So they're happy to have Shiganari's pool be pinched in favor of picking up the Ornn and securing scaling. All right, this is a very, you know, head-on decision from Unicorn saying, we don't necessarily care about AD pick because you've already got the Draven.
Yeah, I think that they're basically saying, like, look, ultimately, we're going to pick a scaling AD carry. You can ban some of them away, but we can always fall back on like a Jinx, a Xayah, like one of these AD carries that's just going to be able to scale up no matter what, right? Even if you ban a bunch, there are so many scaling AD carries that I guess Shiganari is comfortable. Leona taken off the board, so removing some of that aggression from the bottom side. Could ban a Nautilus if they want to keep running with that theme, but maybe take away something from that top side either to give this. I mean, you could ban the Aatrox, right, to try and stop Ibo just taking over.
Yeah, you could. Aatrox is definitely an option. I think the options are kind of not even too limited. I think Unicorns, having already sent one Leona ban, do you just ban the Nautilus yourself? Do you maybe even consider taking away banning the Braum? Setting that up now? Maybe you force the ban out of Heretics as well? Save your AD to your last pick. I think these are all valuable options, to be honest with you. That seems to be what they're going to set up for. Yeah. And also the Braum in general.
Profit.
Not only that, because the Braum has so much value already because the Ornn is there. The Ornn can always be shut down by the Braum. That's why I call this out. Heretics, I think maybe, do you care? No, the answer seems to be no. They're just going to remove away the misfortune. The champion, of course, Shiganari loves to lean on them with so many team fighting tools. A big bullet time over the top would have been kind of nasty. Varus is an old school 1-to-1 lane counter with Draven. And I'll talk about the matchup if it actually gets locked in. Kalista's still available. This is
a 1-to-1 lane countered by Draven.
I mean, if they want to do it, okay. Now, if they did it, I would have kind of been okay with it because they have counter pick on R5 for support, and that's what you always want from Kalista, even if the 1-to-1 might kind of suck in the AD department. If you have a winning support matchup, it can still kind of turn the tables. But like we said, Braum being banned away, it kind of sets up for Nautilus to not really have too many poor matchups anymore, outside of the super weird picks. Maybe something like Morgana comes out from Whiten, but I don't really see it. I think you're looking for an aggressive support here. Set. Ooh. I mean, this is still technically a flex. We have to remember Sejuani as well could go into the jungle, set top, into the Ornn.
It's a flex until this pick.
Yeah, so let's kind of just hold our breath, because Set's not a champion we see too frequently anymore. He is very, very strong into what is a relatively short-range composition outside of the Azir. The Aatrox kind of confirms that that's going to be Aatrox top, Sejuani jungle, and the Set in the support role. And honestly, as an aggressive option consistently, Hex flashing forward with so much sort of movement speed of all the runes and such, it's going to be really obnoxious to deal with. And it seems like Unicorns, they're toying with the idea of this Varus pick. Are they going to lock it in is the question. The AD pool has been pinched so much, and it seems like the answer is yes.
There it is. Shigenari goes for a Varus. This is a pick that has not been meta in years at this point.
It's been a while.
It has been a long old time.
We've seen it sort of rear its head recently every now and again. Mid lane, right? I think as an answer to Azir, the sort of AP hybrid build, Riftmaker.
That can be terrifying.
Yeah,
that can be absolutely
that
terrifying.
build's pretty scary, yeah.
I will say though, Whiten bringing out this set. He has played it once this split. It's not his first time playing set.
Did he win?
Can be good. He did win. 100% win rate. That's all I'm saying. Statistically, he's never lost. No, but can be good against all-in supports like the Nautilus. But I will say, Unicorns, plenty of ways to start a fight with this composition with an Ornn, a Wukong, and a Nautilus. They certainly have a gauge.
They really do. Both sides, to be honest with you, right? I think this has the potential to be a super explosive Game 5. I think either team could honestly end up rolling over each other. I mean, it's been the nature of the series, hasn't it? It feels like every game bar, Game 1 has been a stomp.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going into game number 5. And I'll be honest, with the way that some of these games went in the series, I didn't think we were going to make it this far. But here we are, and it's the Dark region versus Spain. Whoever can win this one will represent their region moving forward into the semi-finals to take on the 3 LFL teams that have remained in the bracket. And the Superliga versus the Prime League, seed 1 from both regions. This is the decider of who's the superior region.
And not only that, you know what, I'm going to say it, they also remain the final hope of the rest of Europe that isn't French. They are going to be the only non-French team. You know, if you're not rooting for an LFL team, you're rooting for one of these two teams here moving forward from the semis. And I mean, again, such huge gauntlet throwdowns from both sides, right? Seeing the Set Draven lane of all things, seeing a Varus rear its head into this one. A lot of odd picks we don't get to see too frequently. A lot of very comfortable picks across the board as well on both sides let through. We always say Game 5 drafts, they evolve so much. And right now, it's evolved into a whole bunch of, honestly, madness.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does feel like, for the side of Heretics, you know, this Sejuani and this Victor have mostly been on the side of Lurox and Ruby in this series specifically, right? It's felt like Heretics have been forced to take picks away from Unicorns here, aside from that Draven, which they clearly wanted for themselves. They clearly went out of their way to find the Draven in the draft, and I'm keeping my eyes on Jack Spectra. We know he's got the mechanics. We know he can pull this pick off, but it's down to how well the rest of the team play around him. Both junglers, though, starting on that top side with a view to pan down towards that bottom
I mean, look,
lane.
already there's fights going on. Shigenari's lost his cleanse, half his HP. Flash expended by Whiten, and actually doesn't have Hex Flash.
So
by the HUD.
Yeah, a bit of a weird one. Usually do see Hex Flash on the set. So you mentioned earlier that Varus can be considered a counter to the Draven. So before the junglers get down here, talk me through how that works out.
So you can kind of outrange him just a touch. The Hail of Arrows as well plays a really big deal in sort of kind of slowing him down in his aggression moving forward. Obviously, you know, if he's got Flash in the early levels, you can try and flash over it. But then if you blow your Flash, you might be vulnerable. But then 1-to-1, as long as there's no junglers intervening, it doesn't really matter too much anymore. Early ward's going to get put down there. But yeah, then of course, because Draven's movement is so telegraphed with his axes, once you hit that level 6 mark as well, the opportunity to just kind of throw out a Chains of Corruption to shut him down very, very high. That's why you see Jack Spectra's run the cleanse just to ensure that he doesn't get locked down by that one. But it's about effectively range and being able to poke out the Draven without really having to interact with him too much, which kind of makes this a pretty strong 1-to-1 lane counter to try and shut it down. Varus' trading power, pretty high with those blighted stacks. You'd be very, very surprised. He just has to get them stacked up and actually proc them efficiently.
see if Shiganari can pull it off in that bottom side. This 2v2 has been aggressive, but 1v1 has been pretty aggressive as well, as Blue Resort wants to keep that going. Had his bottom lane moving in, but Lurox has already cleared those camps, so won't be able to find anything aside from a Scuttle Crab off the back of this invade.
Just the skull for now, will at the very least as well ensure that Jack Spectra and Whiten have an isolated 2v2 for the next little while. The Lurox is doing his best to try and force his way down into the river. He will be late to the Skull Crab at the very least, but still down here in case some kind of weird shenanigans ended up occurring. Level 3 hit by both bot lanes, and this is where things can really start to get explosive when Whiten has all the movement speed from the Q.
Jamada, it feels so tense. It feels so tense. Lurox waiting in the brush, gets a hit onto Blue Resort as Ruby desperate to shove this wave in, get it to bounce, get it to reset. Looks like he will be able to do so as Sparrow trying to hold it just outside of tower range. He's got so little HP to work with, and here we go. Ruby tries to threaten, takes a tower shot for his trouble here. And I think it will just neutralize in the middle of the lane. Oh, Jamada, 0-0, 4 minutes in, but it feels so... You can cut the tension with a knife.
You really can. Ruby, psychopath movement. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
You know what? Game 5 doing that kind of stuff. I feel like if your team saw you do it.
That's the Rogue Warrior's spirit right there. That's what that is, I'm telling you.
It really is. Now, Blue Resort, he's actually managed to slip his way down here. Remember, Shiganari, no cleanse.
This could be a massive face breaker. Pulls Winsome in, doesn't find the stun. Winsome has the anchor you'd expect. Might look to pull someone under the tower instead. Shiganari doing a good job to try and return some damage, and Jack getting pretty low on the play.
You can kind of see Shiganari able to return a lot of damage onto Jack Spectra. A little bit of mechanical misplay, not so much of a heavy commitment as well from Heretics to actually lock down Winsome. Doesn't even end up using his flash in this exchange. That would have been, in my mind, the bare minimum. You're starting to see the annoyance of this lane 1-to-1, the outrange here, the poke coming through onto Jack Spectra. You just can't really deal with it inside the lane. You have to just kind of send it. But Whiten just doesn't have the movement speed or the range to do it.
Yeah, not quite. Shiganari does have flash if things should come to that, as Ruby returns to the lane and continues to put the pressure down. I mean, remember, this is Ruby's comfort pick. This is Ruby's pick. This is the pick that he's made his name on, so you can anticipate he knows how to play this matchup, especially since Victor versus Azir is probably one of the most played matchups of the last sort of 3-4 years.
There's only one more played, Munch. It's Corky, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hello, Whiten.
All in on the bottom side. Whiten has the shield, but can he survive
flash.
the damage as Lurox comes under? And it's an easy first blood for the Unicorns. They make it look like child's play.
They really do. Just Whiten trying to hold the wave. Shiganari and Winsome say, absolutely not. Blue Resort gets involved in the action, gets himself an assist, but the first blood goes over to Shiganari. That's crucial in ensuring that he can keep an item parity with Jack Spectra. One thing to note, has the lethal tempo, so looking to probably go an on-hit build. Now Blue Resort looking at the mid lane, will he go for a full-on play?
Oh, Ruby, good little dodge there. Oh, does get stunned, actually, so Blue Resort might be able to follow up, but the Chaos Storm just going to be used on the wave in the end. Sparrow trying to push this one in, but Ruby will be able to clear this wave up. Shouldn't be under too much pressure, so surviving. Quite a lot expended there in the mid lane.
Yeah, quite a bit expended, but Blue Resort still, you know, a lot of pressure comes in. Ibo get a pretty nice trade here. Won't go for the Q3. Really nice Bellows Breath to ensure that there's no drag back from the Infernal Chains. Now on the bottom side of the map, from the back of that mid lane play.
I mean, we talked about this in game number 4. All of the Drakes have been like post 10 minutes across the course of this series. Heretics, though, they know that they have strength in this bottom lane with Draven coming back to lane with a serrated Dirk. They know they can brute force this one and start to stack those Drakes early. It'll be Infernal for the second, so Jamada, you'll be happy to know it could be a Cloud Soul once more. Aatrox can use that. Set can certainly use that. Maybe it could be good. We'll have to wait and see, though. But Heretics, crucially, starting with the neutral objectives. Once again, they've been doing this all series long, and they mean to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of in a similar vein to what you'd like to use Kalista for, Draven, same kind of deal. You really want to try and force all of these early objectives to come through. Really nice stuff. And again, kind of comes more off the mid lane play at the very least. So happy to see that they're going to get this early objective stacked up. Infernal, second dragon, Cloud, Smile. It's possible.
We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. We'll talk about it as and when. But so far, relatively quiet one here, with Heretics feeling like they have control of the map, at least for the time being. But realistically, when you look on the side of Unicorns, there is plenty of scaling to be talked about, right? You've got an Ornn, you've got an Azir, you've got an on-hit Varus. Yeah. This is not the lethality Varus that falls off that we've seen over the years. This is very much a scaling Varus. So, Scarface actually going to be forced to flash on the top side. That's a little all-in from Ibo there off the back of his TP.
Yeah, I think maybe not too sure of where Blue could have been so.
Oh, no! He flashes that he misses the face breaker, pulled back in, big damage. So he does get a bit out from the haymaker, but now Jack Spectre in trouble as well. If that was a level 6 Barris,
look how close
this
he is
game
as well.
is over.
He's so close to level 6. If the Inferno Chains were there, death. Maybe even both of them. Jack Spectre's Flash Cleanse, maybe. But now look towards that bottom side because so much attention is being drawn because of this trade. Ruby clearing a wall, potentially roaming down to the bottom side. Lurox pathing down, and Jack Spectre respects this entirely. Uses the ultimate to clear the wave. A plate will go over to Shiganari at the very least, but still, trades going in favor of Unicorns, pulling out this very unorthodox counter 1-to-1, and right now it's working wonders.
And I love it. I love that they basically completely turned their draft around from early on in the series, removing those AD carry bans and basically just saying, look, Jack, you can play what you like. Shiganari will have an answer, and so far it has turned out to be true, certainly in game number 5, but just yet. It's a 1,000 gold lead for the Unicorns as the Heretics continue their neutral objective dominance in this series and look for the Herald. If they can get this down to the Draven, if they can get a Herald, get a couple of plates, maybe get some kills off the back of the play as well, that's where Heretics will really come alive.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing to note, even though the kill went over to Shiganari earlier on for the first blood, Jack Spectre is still stacking. He hasn't died yet. So if they can also get that cash in relatively soon, right? You start to talk around 12 to 15 minute mark where ideally you want to try and get that cash in, advance Draven to that second iron mark so he can really take over the game. That could be a massive, massive point of contention for Unicorns to have to deal with. So Heretics, let's keep our eyes on Blizzard to see where he wants to go with that Rift Herald.
See where he puts it. Jack Spectre playing very safe here, and rightly so, because Winsome and Ruby, that sort of Korean NA duo, trying to move down to make things happen in the bottom side. They won't be able to do it. Just going to be a crash of the wave from Shiganari and a reset back to the mid lane here. And I feel like this is, you know, it's sort of inevitable, both for the way that the draft turned out, but also the fact that it's game 5 and whoever loses this one is out. You're not going to see coin flips. Just calculated play. Winsome and Lurox, though, they do get warded out. And that'll be the end of this play.
Yeah, I think that goes to show how cautious Heretics are being, though, just respecting the vision bottom side of the map right now, because they just don't really have any. And Unicorns doing a really good job of just putting the pressure down.
I am loving watching Ruby play.
So am I.
This man has very little respect for his lane opponents. Just walking up, making sure he gets that tower plate, and sliding away again at the end there. Like, so often we've seen him go really far in, White in, pulled it in. Does manage to find Shiganari here, but he gets out to safety. There's a chain of corruption as well. Big damage onto White in. 1 or 2 more times, but no, the resets! And Jack Spectre finds the execute. Lurox next on the chopping block, but he will get over the wall here. Jack Spectre, huge cash in, and suddenly things look good for Heretics.
He just had a 1k gold swing. He was down 700 gold, now he's up 300. The execute from the ultimate comes back through and rips Shiganari in half. The engage looks so good. Anyway, Wyatt manages to pull both Shiganari and Winsome in. It's just on the edge of the hitbox. At this point, just gets so chunked down low. It's the haymaker that actually ends up hitting him. 286 true damage, and then the pull back on the Draven ultimate. If he didn't get hit by the true damage portion, he would have just about squeaked out alive.
So close, and so well played by Jack as well. I actually said the wrong word there. It wasn't resets, obviously, it's very, but the recast, just getting it so the very edge of the ultimate hits Shiganari and returns to get that execution. Beautifully done there. And now Jack Spectre getting close to his shield bow. Already has that serrated Dirk, but the Unicorns off the back of the tempo here, getting back to base first, getting back on the map, means that they go 1 Drake apiece at Jamada. I could see the grin on your face already. It is a Cloud Soul once more.
I'm dancing. Cast can't see me, or the chat can't see me. I'm dancing. I'm happy. It's a
I can confirm he's dancing.
And look, Cloud Soul, I'm not gonna sell out. Right? I think sure, pretty nice on a couple of champions in this game, but realistically we have to just continue to focus on the plays. Herald actually gets dropped in the top side, perhaps happy with the cash in. Just want to get Ivo a little bit further ahead. Going towards the Gore Drinker build yet again, as opposed to anything like the Eclipse that we've been seeing with Black Cleaver. Of course, a lot of short-range champions, I'll say, so Gore Drinker proc should be relatively big. As Blizzard gets his red buff.
Okay, nice. A little bit of a bonus off the back of that top lane play. Gets 4 plates in the top side for his top laner. and then goes and gets a bonus red buff on top of it. Scarface just desperately trying to clear these waves. Aatrox does very well against this Ornn. It's a tough matchup for the Ornn. So Scarface doing a reasonable job just to maintain even CS.
Is doing a reasonable job? Jack Spectre of taking away this blue buff. That's his now as mid lane. Ruby gets hit by the ult, but again, just kind of disengages, dashes away, nothing to really talk about.
Sejuani ult for harass.
Yeah.
Just trying to get pressure down and trying to maintain control, because I feel like that is going to be the nature of the rest of this game, right? Maintain river control, because it's fairly difficult to walk into these brushes. There's a lot of burst damage on both sides. There's a lot of ways to catch your opponent out if you can maintain that control first.
Exactly. And speaking of control, a little bit too tangent off the topic. I want to talk about how these team fights might end up playing out, how the composition want to play into each other, because I think we've got two relatively similar in style in terms of what they want to achieve, but they go about it in very different ways. I think for Unicorns, when I say that, it's two front-to-back team compositions where Unicorns have got more traditional frontliners, right? They've got an Ornn, they've got a Wukong to sort of buy lost space, and Shiganari and Ruby are going to just hit the first target that's in front of them. Whereas for champions like Victor and champions like Draven, they want space to be bought for them, and I feel like champions like Set, especially when there's an Ornn in the game, to always just ult backwards and reset a team fight, will always be able to do that, as now play onto the bottom side.
Shiganari's in big trouble here. The damage already coming on through. Blue Resort just keeping this Varus in range and just slowly but surely chunked out. Jack gets another cash-in. 201 on his signature Draven, and now time on the tower as well.
A little bit underneath that tower, and I mean, it's just easy pickings, right? Cleanse, I don't quite think was available, and if it was, it wouldn't have really achieved too much. Without the flash, he is just dead too, right?
No hard CC.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Heretics really, really happy at the moment to just continually make these plays towards the bottom side. It feels like Unicorns feel a little bit suffocated, limited in terms of the options they can really look for. Maybe, but in my head, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, I feel that they've not really been looking for anything too proactive in my mind. They've not been trying to pick off Zoiru with things like Emperor's Divide. They've not been trying to go towards Aibo either on this Aatrox. Perhaps just feel like he's too tanky already with the Gore Drinker. I'm not going to say that the time is running out for them. Their comp scales exceptionally well.
Yeah.
It's just more that I'm very surprised that we haven't seen more, you know, attempts at some more aggression, because Heretics don't seem afraid at all.
No, Lurok's the target here. Cyclone comes out. There's the double stun. Emperor's Divide over the tower! Look at that, but Lurok goes down anyway, and Ruby pulled back in. Flying around the rift, but Heretics find their men.
Wow, Heretics, what a turnaround. The Emperor's Divide looks so good from Ruby. And I mean, the only way that gets worse for Unicorns is that Draven ult threw right past everybody involved. And it didn't manage to catch a cash, and if it did, Jack Spectre from downtown would have gone even further ahead. And now, off the back of that play, Rift Herald on the top side of the map. You see Aibo forcing away Scarface. This play is having ramifications across the map. As we're going to go to a replay, I'm sure Aibo doesn't kill him, don't worry. As Blue Resort just finds Lurox on the chicken cap and says, all right, I'm going to stack up my Permafrost. First stun, doesn't manage to break it. Second ultimate comes through. And this Emperor's Divide looks so good, but look at the ultimate use here from White. It just drags Ruby, just taxis right from underneath the tower.
Yep.
Easy as you like.
And Lurix is basically already dead, right?
Yeah.
So nothing needed to finish him off. He just happens to die in proximity of what's going on. Really great stuff from Whiten, and this set pick from Whiten as well. Like, not something we were expecting to see today. Not a pick that anyone was necessarily looking to the series saying, yeah, set's going to be a priority.
Pick, yeah.
Game 5 brings it out, and so far so good in these team fights. So far, managing to make it work, and we'll see if that can continue to be the story. But Blue Resort stealing away the Sejuani.
Oh no. They don't know he's there. They don't know he's there. They don't know he's there.
Whiten moving over. Ruby the target. Lurox does get his clone out to safety. Aibo on the front line here, and happy to be so. Scarface moves over. Wave is dying in the top side. It looks like Aibo going to move back over, but in the meantime, Jack is just farming away and making sure that he has bank to move into this mid game with.
1.7k ahead of Shiganari right now. So much.
Just look across that scoreboard, right? 1.7k in the bottom lane, plus 800 for Whiten, 1.2k in the jungle, 1.1k in the top lane. It's just Heretics all across the board.
It really is. I mean, Unicorns, again, still have the opportunity to try and take up some fights in the mid game. This isn't one of the combat oppressive souls per se. In, you know, the Hextech Soul, the Infernal Mountain as well. Cloud Soul, it's going to feel more impressive if a kill comes through and the resets start to run in from Aibo. If Jack Spectre is able to just run you down because he presses R key, that's going to feel really bad. But until then, they can sit pretty. As long as they don't lose the Baron, as long as they can keep as many of their structures outside of the base alive as possible, which, as you can see, Heretics very aware of the situation.
And Heretics have been so good at taking multiple towers off the back of Heralds, right? So many times we've seen them take 2 towers, 3 towers, or at least 2 towers and get a charge onto the inhibitor, but won't happen this time. Jack Spectre pressuring in the bottom side, so really great play. They do get multiple towers, not necessarily off the Herald charges, but off of the Herald pressure.
Yeah, I think Unicorns, they're going to look for a fight, though.
Aibo, the targets. Lurox goes in to get a little bit of damage down as well, but Aibo has sustained Scarface, a triple knock-up on the backside as Aibo, surviving Notum, taken down. And now the Whirling Blades in the middle of everything. Ruby gets the knockback. Jack in the middle of everyone, and he's taken down by Shigenari. The Unicorns find their footing in this game and get themselves a fight.
They find the fight. Heretics go for that tier 2. I think the chase down shouldn't amount to too much. Unicorns just about squeak through with this team fight win. They lose Lurox, sure, but Heretics, they don't back away immediately after taking this tower. You can see, kind of caught in this choke here. Blurazor, Aibo is the target. No one else is actually following up on the Aibo damage. And Scarface on the backline hits 3 members with Zoiru. Jack Spectra, they're not really participating in this team fight until very late into it. The AoE is massive, but once this Emperor's Divide comes through, Jack Spectra is no longer actually even allowed to hit the front line that he just started hitting. And it's the gold that comes in onto Shigenari from this team fight, which is massive.
If I'm not mistaken there, if I saw that right, I'm pretty sure Jack managed to get a kill onto Lurox and cash in just a split second before Shigenari finished him. So still, you can see that massive gold lead in favor of Jack still, but a huge moment for the Unicorns because, like you said before, as long as they're not losing their entire base, they're still in this game. They've got scaling to work with, so if they can take fights like that and find advantages, it's fantastic news.
Yeah, and whilst it might not look like it, I really want to try and highlight Ruby for a second because I feel like he's actually been having a pretty solid sort of back end. Well, not the series, but this game in particular, he's been looking like he wants to get aggressive. I'm going to have to cut that point short because Shigenari's in trouble.
Has to flash White in behind him. That's a good face breaker. Call of the Forge God to protect him, though. Shigenari survives. Ruby on the back line. And Jack is down. Lurox surviving as Shigenari does as well. And Sphero taken down by Scarface. It's a clean fight. 4 for nothing. And the Unicorns turn to Baron.
Unicorns, you've got to be kidding me. And it's at the 20-minute mark dead on, so they can just take the Baron and off the back of it find so many towers that they haven't been able to take yet.
Azir is so fast to the Baron, and then you've got a Kraken Slayer Varus. Aibo has to 1v5 against his old team if he wants to deny the Purple Worm. No TP on Spyro. It's over. That's the Baron taken, and the Unicorns take control of the game.
They have clawed their way back in, kicking and screaming. And let's look at the initial engage because it's onto Shigenari, but there's just not enough follow-up immediately. And crucially, Wyatt can't actually use his armor because he doesn't bloody have it. And as they dive in, Jack Spectre just gets the lead by Lurox, a little bit of Ruby damage as well. And at that point, everybody else is being minced by Unicorns, and none of the damage dealers could actually add anything for Heretics. Unicorns just found their miracle fight back in.
The Unicorns managing to find their fight. 2,000 gold down now, but with a Baron to shore up that gold deficit. And you can see the items coming through across the board. The upgraded Leandries for Ruby with a Void Staff there. You can see 2.5 items for Shigenari. Once he gets to 3, just like any other crit AD carry, he's going to hit like a truck. No summoners for him, though. So the Unicorns do have to be cautious. If he gets caught, if Shigenari goes down, things get dicey.
I mean, even if they do, I feel like Ruby at the moment, as long as he doesn't go for too many, Emperor's Divide plays the shuffles, I think as long as he's able to put out damage, Unicorns might be all right as long as they can buy him the space. Yep. I think Heretics, again, it's just about target selection. They really do have to find these key carries and blow them up quickly. Or even if Whiten can find the ultimate angle to immediately hit everybody using Scarface's body, that's the best they can look for. Lurox
does manage to get out of the Infernal Chains, and that means this mid lane tower goes down. Scarface with the Call of the Forge God goes wide on Sphero. That will be the end of the play. And I will say, it becomes difficult for Heretics if they can't find that engage right, because Azir and Varus, they're more than happy to just never fight and poke you away.
Yeah, exactly. They want to play at range in their front-to-back team fighting, whereas Heretics, they need the space to be provided by Aatrox, by Sejuani. Now this dragon's up in 10 seconds. Do Heretics really want to fight over this? A Cloud Dragon during the Baron duration? I mean, it's so risky to lose it over one dragon 22 minutes in.
We've got to keep our eyes on the AD carries here. Jack Spectra going down early on in that previous fight. Ibo trying to buy space, trying to keep Lurox marked here, but the control ward over gives Lurox a bit of space to try and move in, but spotted on another ward.
Yeah, Lurox is really looking for a flank angle. If he can actually set up for Unicorns to collapse, it would be so good. Ibo, like you say, doing an amazing job at just bodyguarding him away to the side. I think Lurox might have to give up on this one sooner or later. You can see a lot of perseverance to kind of just stay there.
It's tense.
Oh,
it's
Heretics.
so tense.
They've started it though. It's actually been aggroed down to them. And you can see Ruby's looking for an angle here. Potentially, he's going all the way down. The issue is, do they have vision on it? I think I saw a ping from Heretics in the pit.
Ruby
No, he's there, dude.
in the
No,
back
he's there.
of the pit here. Bit of poke comes down. 4K on the Dragon, but it resets here. Lurox just using his clone. Ibo cautious, doesn't want to stay too far in and returns to the rest of his team here. It's the Superliga versus the Prime League. It's game 5, and you can feel it as there we go. Engage onto White in here, pulls one out the backside of the boat. Shigenari down though. Ibo takes out his old teammates here. It's Jack Spectra answered by Ruby. There's 2 carries on this team, but now Ruby caught by Blue Resort. He escapes. Ruby on the Infernal Chains, but dashes to safety. Ibo trying to chase him down. Scarface as well on the top side of the play, chased by Zvero. The solo laners in a 2v2 across the map, but Ruby low on HP on the wrong side of the map. Can he get past the towers? Gets the Shurima shuffled to safety, and he might just somehow find his way out. There's a blast cone. He's got the Cloud Rift to work with. He's out of there.
No way does Ruby make out of that one. I mean, the footnote of this fight.
Buff. Why not?
Why not, right? I mean, the footnote of this fight is Heretics find the targets that they have to, right? They have to immediately blow up Ruby or Shigenari, and in this case, they managed to find the Varus. We'll get a look at it because there were so many things going on so many different fronts at the same time. So the front line here, immediately a lot of white damage comes in from White in. Blue Resort's ultimate goes on to Ruby and kind of stops the initial engage, but it's all about Ibo who finds the Varus so quickly. And at this point, you're just thinking, surely the fight is then done for Heretics. They should win this one out so easily. But Ruby finds his mark in Jack Spectra, and he's able to dash through so many members without dying. Ibo does his best, but the Infernal Changes aren't there to drag him in, and eventually he makes his grand escape. And in the picture-in-picture, Heretics do come back to the Dragon and pick it up, and they will be now at Soul Point.
And you mentioned something earlier, Jamada, that in the game we call League of Legends, so there's a strategy when there's a Cloud Soul on the table of allow it to go over and look for the Elder Dragon. We haven't seen an Elder Dragon all through this series, but it's game number 5. Oh. The winner of this game will be the only non-LFL representative in the semi-finals. They'll be holding the rest of Europe basically on their shoulders, and it could come down to an Elder Dragon. That would be truly something to behold. It's just 1,000 gold separating our 2 teams in the closest game of the series so far, and it feels like both teams still have everything to play for.
Yeah, I mean, the closest series we've had in cores, I feel, right? I think even the Dusty series, perhaps, came close, but I always felt like LDLC, towards the back end of the series in particular, were almost always going to win, though Dusty, of course, tried their best. Right now, though, it's on a knife's edge. It could really go either way. With Unicorns having such a hard scaling composition, 3 items now on the Varus, it just feels like every fight they take, they should have damage available to them. It's about whether or not, again, Heretics find ultimates from Blue Resort onto Ruby, onto Shigenari, and whether or not the follow-up can actually come through.
This is the thing, right? It feels so much like how the fight starts is both teams diving at the enemy AD carry, right? Shigenari, does he have flash available? Yes. Jack Spectra, halfway through that cooldown. So the next fight, if it happens in the next couple of minutes, probably you'd favor the Unicorns. But then if those summoners do swap around, it's a different story.
Yeah, and I feel like Unicorns, if they get in front of the pit right now, on top of the Baron, they should just melt it, right? Azir, 2.5 items, maybe actually has a 3rd Ruby now as you reset, so you'd have to imagine 3 items, upgraded Kraken Slayer, stopwatch. Crucially for Shigenari, just purchased. Let's see if Heretics are pressing the tab key. And actually Jack Spectra on the opposite side has a stopwatch in tow as well. So both of these AD's carries kind of recognize, if we get picked, our team is probably screwed in terms of damage. It's all up to Zoyru and Ruby at that point, and we don't want to have to let it go to that.
No, but Ruby, so far in the this game. Seems happy to step up to the plate when that happens. The Emperor's Divide in that previous play, finding Jack Spectra just about eking over the 1v1 against Blue Resort as well. Feels like he is happy to be that carry, and it's kind of funny to think about when you came into this series, we were talking about how Ruby, not really the absolute carry player necessarily, more of a rock for the team to play around, and usually it's Shigenari to be the big carry, but maybe today is the moment for Ruby to step up to the plate.
Yeah, you know, and I want to just briefly talk about expectations from quarters in general.
Yeah.
Everyone was kind of saying this is probably a 3-0, 3-1 Unicorns. Unicorns just look really damn good. The one game that they dropped in groups just kind of looked like they were having fun. And Heretics maybe not meeting the expectations of the Spanish fans and maybe even outsiders as well. And as we've gone through every single series, each series that we thought would be a 3-0 has been a 5-game series, and every game that we thought would be a 5-game series has been a 3-0. And right now, Heretics Unicorns is up to that standard and the expectation, and it's just been so insane to watch.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure to see this, and especially when it's a game that has so much on its shoulders, like in terms of narrative, right? We've talked about the fact that this is the two non-LFL regions remaining, right? It's Prime League versus Super League, it's the DACH region versus Spain, but then also it's Aibo versus his old team, right? I feel like there's so many different things to talk about. It had to go the distance. It had to be a bagger.
And not only that, you want to be known as the team if you can make it to finals and actually win. That was the team that broke the French dynasty in the ERLs.
I thought you were just going to end that at broke the French then. I was like, whoa, whoa. Aggressive, but I like it.
Only the French can break the French according to the standard right now.
According to recent history, you're absolutely right. It has been the story of the LFL. I mean, we introed the first game today saying this is our reprieve from the Amazon LFL Masters. But here we go, the Unicorns starting things off. As you say, Shigenari, so much damage, and Ruby on the Azir. They burn through this and a TP forced. If the Unicorns can just walk away from this one, they'll be happy with that. But the Heretics want a Baron of their own. White is pulled in. There's a good knock-up across the team there as well. White can't even get a haymaker out. Lurks comes in for the knock-ups. Winsome trying to escape with his life, but Ivo on the backside. Shigenari a 1v1 against an Aatrox. But in the meantime, Jack Spectra's gone down as well. Scarface versus Pharaoh. There goes Shigenari. There goes Ruby. No, Ruby! How does he do it again? Blue Resort trying to get him. He's gone. Will smack him with the flail. Takes him down. And the Heretics back in control.
They are back in control. They don't really have a big mid-wave to work with. They should probably just back off towards the Baron. Scarface, can he stop this? I feel like the answer is no. And Heretics, they kind of walk in on a bit of a robbery going on. The Baron's at 6k, it doesn't fully leash, but in the end, it's just the fight that ensues afterwards. And again, this is so many different fronts the team fights are happening on.
This is an extremely slow Baron, I will say. Lurks is up in 3 seconds. I don't think he can get to the Baron, but I think this should mean that the Clown Drake goes the way of the Unicorns. This should deny the Soul.
Yeah, it should do at the very least. We'll see once we come out of the replay how the teams actually open back out onto the map. But again, this ultimate here from Scarface kind of keeps Whiten in the air long enough. And I think because the Brittle broke on the knockup, he stays so high, he can't actually recast his W. And look at this from Ivo on the backline. Delete Shigenari, forces Shigenari into the stopwatch as well. And at that point, again, no one is really defending the star prize of the Unicorns in this team fight, unfortunately. Scarface is on the top side to provide his ultimate. Ruby and co were elsewhere, and Heretics just pounce on every single party individually.
We get back and everybody's on the map. Drake was not taken in the end by the Unicorns. Oh, hook ever so slightly wide of Blue Resort. If they could get a pick on the enemy jungler, that would be the dream for the Unicorns right now. 4,500 gold down. But we are starting to get to the point where that kind of gold is not the end of the world. This will be down to execution.
It is indeed. Heretics again. More flashes not available. The dragon's being leashed. Heretics have a bit of a flank going on with Ivo. It will be a 50-50 unless Blue Resort goes in.
It's going to be a bit of damage onto Ruby. Not really enough though, but it's Dragon taken Soul for the Heretics. Ivo in the middle of everyone. Look at the knockups. Ruby tries to save him, but there is no saving from Ivo. Taking out his own team and going insane while he does it. Ivo takes it for Heretics as they barrel towards the base.
Ivo against his old team says, says, screw the narrative. I don't care if you think Unicorns are the favorite team. He smashes their hopes and dreams of being the team that can move on to the semi-finals. The final member drops. Everyone's dead on Unicorns, and Heretics should be able to close this one out.
They might just do it. 20 seconds on Ruby, 20 seconds on Shiganari. They've got a massive wave, and I think they've got the damage. Aibo gets his hero moment against his old team and finally makes it back to the semis for the first time since 2018. What a moment for Aibo. What a win for Heretics.
What a win for the Spanish region. When was the last time we could feel good